And that's what a lot of private attorneys won't say to clients. And I tell them that all the time because if you're competing for price with the public defender's office, you're probably running a volume shop. And I hear a lot of people talking trash about the PD's office and just wrong. I used to be a public defender. So you can get good representation in Northern Virginia if you can't afford a lawyer. Now,
Sharp strategies, sweet success.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Sharp Strategy, Sweet Success, and I'm Tiffany Swedensky, and today I am talking to James Abrenio. I worked with James Abrenio at Ben Glass Law a long time ago. We're getting old. And he did the small criminal practice that we had there at the firm and also the personal injury cases. He was always super fun to work with and very, very passionate about the law. And I really appreciated that about him. I learned a lot of stuff from you in the process because I just heard in the office you were actually one of the only attorneys like talking about a bunch of the changes that were happening in politics. The rest of us just had our heads down and we're focused on legal. And so it was always like really nice to see. You're kind of like the attorney. Before I worked with attorneys, you are what I imagined attorneys would be like. So,
except better looking, right?
So I guess I'll turn it over to you and let you finish out your introduction.
Yeah, look, I appreciate it. Always pleasure speaking with you. You were my SEO marketing technical person that I would always ask questions about, and it was fun working with you. And I left Ben's office 2019, right before COVID. Perfect timing, of course. And I've been running a small firm in Fairfax for since then, so most 6 years. We're actually coming up next week will be 6 year anniversary. Last year, my wife Linda joined as a partner. We actually just changed the name of the firm to Abrenio Cho. I'm very feminist, and she kept her last name, and we've added it to the firm name. And so that's been cool. We have a 5 month old at home and a 3.5 year old. So I'm actually at my home office, and I spend most of my time working out of the office. Still doing personal injury, still doing criminal defense, and just living life. So yeah, that's me.
How's the caseload split these days? Is it like mostly personal injury, mostly criminal, or is it down the middle?
Yeah, it's usually 60/40, 70/30 split, PI, personal injury being the majority. The criminal cases I mostly do because I just find them interesting from a revenue standpoint. I'm probably technically losing money. In fact, that's probably the reason Ben and Brian and Charlie would get upset with me in the criminal practice because it was not a huge money maker, but from a passion standpoint, also from just keeping my trial skills up to date, criminal was always, you're always in court a lot more often. You're doing very serious negotiations and then you're going to trial. So I just found it valuable from that perspective. And also, we're here to talk about business. It was also a good business development. I mean, I'm constantly interacting with other lawyers that don't do personal injury. Hey, I've got this case. Can we talk about it? Hey, maybe you could help out a client, that kind of thing too. So I just found it rounded me out as a lawyer and also just my style, the way I do business and marketing. It just worked well with me and it still does to this day.
I guess and I haven't really, most of my clients are personal injury firms. I don't have the opportunity to work with the criminal defense firms. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say that. So I want them to hire me. Uh, but so, like with criminal,
Mhm.
are you having to like vet more leads to find the good cases than you do with PI?
Yeah, I actually if when I first started, I did a little bit with like AdWords and all that stuff, and I was getting a lot of calls. And the problem is I ended up just talking to people and then we'd have this long conversation. Then it became apparent they'd talked to four other attorneys and then it just became, hey, can you do it for less? Can you do it for less? So now I don't really I don't, first of all, I don't do any paid advertising anymore. And as far as the criminal cases, the potential client calls are definitely down, but they're more kind of targeted. And I'm very straight up forward at the beginning of calls. Hey, look, I'm a private attorney. If you're looking just for cost, if you know the cheapest guy, I'm not going to be it. I'm probably going to be charging more than most. And there are good attorneys that charge less than me. So if that's your number one priority, let's just get that off the top. And then that usually clarifies it pretty quickly. But still, am I taking a majority of my potential cases on criminal? Not usually. just because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense from a money standpoint. So I don't know if that answers the question.
No, it
So,
does.
yeah.
Yeah. So I guess like, do you feel like criminal defense is underserved? Like, I don't know. I guess I just kind of imagine
Mm.
like you must get a bunch of people who need help, but probably just can't afford it, right?
Well, so criminals is different than personal injuries. First of all, there's a public defender's office. So if you're indigent, if you can't afford a lawyer, you will be appointed one by the court. We're in Fairfax County. Fortunately, we have a very good public defender's office. And a lot of those attorneys, frankly, have more experience than me, or better trial attorneys than me. And that's what a lot of private attorneys won't say to clients. And I tell them that all the time, because if you're competing for price with the public defender's office, you're probably running a volume shop. And I hear a lot of people talking trash about the PD's office, and just wrong. I used to be a public defender, so you can get good representation in Northern Virginia if you can't afford a lawyer. Now, I think the hardest spot to be in is the one where you're just over the indice level. I'm not pronouncing that right, but just over the poverty level, to where you don't have a lot of disposable income, but you can't afford a court-appointed counsel. And so there are a lot of lawyers I've noticed, and I'm not naming names, but I've noticed a lot of lawyers are kind of do the race to the bottom, where you have very relatively small fees and then they're stuck in the volume trap. And I think that a lot of times hurts the clients, because if you're going to charge relatively low numbers, you got to bring a bunch of cases on, and then you're not working up the cases as they should be. I think that can be very difficult. And I do think that there is a concern sometimes I have there. There are a lot of good lawyers, though, a lot of excellent lawyers that charge reasonable prices and sometimes will cut the fee just so they can get and they have the ability, because I think a lot of lawyers that just do criminal defense, so that's their only business model, they can do a little bit more volume and still take those cases on, and then they're able to run with it. Now, from a public standpoint, I think that you can find a good lawyer. First of all, if you can't afford it, but if you're kind of on that just above poverty level, you can still find a good lawyer. I think you just should do your vetting well, making sure you're looking them up. And honestly, it's kind of like finding a doctor. Talk to the lawyer, see if they give you enough time to actually ask questions, see if they're answer. They don't have to be Johnny Cochran, but to answer questions in a way that you can understand it. Because if the lawyer can't speak to you like you're a human being and explain things simply, it's probably not going to change over the course of that representation. Or if you can't get them on the phone, it's probably not going to change over the course of representation. So that's just, I think that gap, that you have very limited disposable income, you can be in a tough spot. But if you do your due diligence, you can find a good lawyer, especially here in Northern Virginia. So is there somewhat of a shortfall? Yeah, but I think you can find, I think there are good lawyers able to do the job. So, yeah.
So something that I'm not sure I ever talked about this, so I'm people on my podcast won't be bored. But so around the time of this, when was Trump elected? Was it
2016. Yeah. First time.
2016 and
Yeah.
then 2024? So like
Yeah. And
anyway,
he would
shortly
say
after.
2020 as well, but okay.
Well,
Sorry.
20 skip 2020. Okay, oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But like so right around the time that like Doge was doing its whole thing, like its little
Mhm.
purge,
Mhm.
one of my clients who has a Social Security disability arm saw like a huge increase in calls from people just worried about their benefits
Mhm. Mhm.
and like what might happen to them and what all these changes mean. Have you noticed a difference like in the types of calls you're getting, like in the whole like political climate, I guess, for the criminal
Well,
defense? I don't know. I don't think personal
yeah,
injury.
not so much criminal defense, but I will say, like on the personal injury side, for instance, if you've got a case pending and then all of a sudden your client has no income, sometimes that puts pressure on them, and they say, well, I'm not going to have any income. Can we try to get this case resolved quicker? I've had a few of those discussions. I've had a few discussions of potential clients that come on and their accident affected their ability to work. And then, was it really the purge that's the cause of the lost wages, or is it because you were going to lose, you were going to be able to keep your job, but now you couldn't because of the crash? Funny enough, or not funny enough, there's health insurance liens in personal injury cases. So for your viewers, they're not aware. If you get involved in an accident and let's say TRICARE pays your medical bills, if you get money in that personal injury case, you have to reimburse TRICARE. So inherently in that, I'm working with TRICARE or these other agencies to try to reduce their lien. And now I'm getting stuck because the shutdown had caused them not be able to negotiate because they're not working. So yeah, there really hasn't not direct calls where they're concerned about the purge, but it does. The shutdown has absolutely affected many, not many. It absolutely affected the way I look at cases now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Man, and I hate to say I'm kind of removed from the government. Like in our area in
Mm,
Northern Virginia, there are just tons and tons of government
mm.
employees. And one of my friends is furloughed right now and just really going through it. And I can't believe it's still going on. I feel like this is the longest government shutdown there's been in my memory.
Well, the longest is actually Trump's last administration. I think it was 30 days. I think we're at 3 weeks now, and I don't know that we're gonna. I think this is probably going to be the longest one. I feel like there's starting to be pressure because it's now the Obama exchange has made it clear that your health insurance premiums are going to skyrocket. And I think now also is the last payments of the furloughed workers. So politically, I feel like there's going to be a lot more pressure on both parties. I'm hoping the Republican Party, but on both parties to end the shutdown. So hopefully things change. But then again, it's just such an unprecedented time. There's no way to predict what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. No, I remember one of the things I distinctly remember,
Mhm.
and I'd hopefully, well, anyway, like
Mhm.
way back, like back when Trump was like, I kind of think it was like 2019.
Mhm.
I think it was one of the Supreme Court justices, maybe it was when Kavanaugh was appointed.
Mhm.
You said that Roe v. Wade was in risk of being overturned,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
me and Joe kind of made fun of you for it. We were just like, no way.
Yeah.
No way it will be. Absolutely not. He's overreacting. And you were
Yeah.
totally right.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And like every time I think like no way that's going to happen, there's
Mhm.
no way. I have to remember I almost always think about that because it's
Mhm.
just it surprises me like just the dramatic shift in politics and now with like AI and all this
Mhm.
AI stuff, just how much things are different like now versus like
Mhm.
when you and I started working together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just unbelievable the pace of change.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I mean, as far as Roe v. Wade, I think it was pretty obvious that was the goal. I think it was pretty obvious that was where the Republican Party was going, and that's the reason folks like me were so scared about what I thought was a theft of the Supreme Court. And I think same-sex marriage is probably next on the chopping block. Voting Rights Act is going to be dead in the next term. I think opinions coming down. I honestly worry, and I didn't mean this to be a political show, but I worry about. I was on the redistricting commission here in Virginia. I don't know if you've been paying attention to what's going on, but in the last 6 months, Trump pushed Texas to redistrict their congressional maps in order to quote find him more seats. And now I actually wrote an op-ed to the Richmond Times saying that we need to do something now in Virginia. So as we speak, Virginia is in special session to redistrict to counter what Trump's doing because if Trump then stills the midterms and Democrats can't take over the House, what's happening is going to go, we're at 100 miles an hour, we're going to go to 180. And that is where we're at. And as far as the AI, nobody is talking about the impact that that's going to have on all of us. I remember when you and I were working together, we were talking about, well, what about autonomous vehicles? Is that in the personal injury practice? Now we're like, are we any of us going to have jobs? Like, there's no point in shifting to a different practice area. Who's going to work? So I don't know. Yeah.
Well, an interesting fact for me, like something back of my mind, is that I think 90, some ridiculously high percent of the US economy is being bolstered by the
Mm.
gamble on AI.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of companies went all in on AI.
Mhm.
And then, oh, which publication was it? It wasn't Wired, but it was a really good one.
Mhm.
It was a really notable publication. Maybe somebody better than me can remember it. But they basically put out a study that like 90% of like AI initiatives of like corporations and businesses have failed.
Mhm.
And so it's the question is, a lot of people think like we're in this like weird AI bubble that's kind of
Mm,
similar to the .com bubble,
mm.
where I guess people spent a lot of money on I was a kid then, but like
Yeah.
people spent a lot of money on domains and it just like went crashing down. People lost money. That's all I really know about it. But I mean, people are wondering if like AI is kind of the same, like if we're in an AI bubble right now.
Well, I mean, I think when people, at least in my view, when people refer to about AI bubble, I think the way I see it is more of a investment bubble. Is I'm going to start an AI company in order to get a huge IPO and then I'll make much money and then it's going to go bankrupt. And I think that's what happened in the dot-com bubble was there was a lot of companies that made a lot of money and took in a lot of investments and then it popped. So you had a lot of companies go out of business. That being said, the underlying business did not die. I mean, we're sitting here on everything is based on the internet. We are talking over Zoom. None of that's possible without the 90s tech boom. I think AI is whether or not Nvidia is going to ultimately be the company that leads us through the generation 3000 or whatever. I don't know, but AI is definitely a transformative technology. I mean, I use it in legal research. It allows me to kind of close the gap. I don't think I'm a great legal researcher. It kind of helps me close the gap into that where maybe I would ordinarily have hired an associate, but I'm trying to run low cost overhead and I'm just doing it myself and AI allows me to do a lot more comfortably. So I do think that whether or not it's a bubble or not, it's not really the question should we be asking. The question should be we're asking is what is the end game here? We're seeing Tesla trying to create physical robots that take over human jobs. The goal there for the technocrats is to get rid of human capital so they don't have to deal with them. They can just get their machines to do whatever, not pay them anything, and then their money goes up because they're the ones investing in all this stuff. I don't think what they've also thought about though is like when just the average class, the working people run out of money, nobody's going to spend money on Amazon if they don't have a fucking job. So I don't know. I think that for what that's worth. So, and sorry for the F bomb.
No, no, no. I do it all the time. If the FTC cares about my podcast, I not
That's
to
a good
send me a notice, I
advertisement,
would be
right?
honored. I would
Yeah.
really be. So, like, I had a story idea that I never actually wrote, and I think it's because
Yeah, I
some
remember
people
you were a
scared.
writer too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I still do. That's
Awesome.
my. I run a legal marketing company, so I can write more. But the irony is, the business takes up so much
Yeah.
time. I know.
Yeah.
I actually have less time for writing, and then I write so much for Substack. I love
Mm.
Substack. But so did have a short story idea once because the question of like, yeah, businesses can automate us out of jobs, but then who will be their consumers?
Yeah.
And I had a theory that we would all have our own personal robots that would
Mm.
essentially go to work for you. And the
Mm.
economic, you would get paid for your robot's work. And people would have, who had more money, would be able to buy better robots. And I
Mm.
thought that would be an interesting concept. And like maybe that, but also we'll probably all have our own personal AI assistants who know like
Yeah.
exactly what we're doing, what we're about to do, what we're forgetting, and all that stuff. And AI is tremendously helpful to me. Like,
Mhm.
as an individual, there are like about a dozen things that I've automated to make my life easier and to make some of the stuff I do for my clients easier. But at the same time, like it's just like there's still like a lot of hype.
Mhm.
Well, it's hard to overhype something that is actually a remarkable tool, but
Mhm.
I don't know. There still is like some element of a lot of content marketing going on. A lot of these AI companies telling us that this will take our jobs at the same time developing the thing that'll take our jobs. And Joe Rogan won't stop talking about AI and it's flipping annoying and he's being sponsored paid by
Yeah.
Perplexity. So like there is a tremendous amount of like marketing going
Yeah.
on behalf of these AI companies to try to keep this like fear cycle of
Yeah.
AI is going to take over going because that's how they make more money. They make more money when we're scared.
Yeah. I was watching some YouTube channel. They were talking about how it's like the AI is making videos about how AI is dangerous, and it's just this constant loop, and they're getting views based on their AI videos. But yeah, I don't know the answer. I do think that if we had somewhat rational government actors that we're able to, because what we should be doing is having our political leaders envisioning in the future that we want to live and then regulate, but we're not. One thing that the last decade has taught me is I won't be surprised if we end up blowing ourselves up because we are a self-destructive body. And I just don't think we can get our shit together. And I don't think it's not going to be because it's intentional behavior. It's going to be because we just can't get our shit together. So somebody pressed the wrong button and we're all done. So that's my cynical
Um,
view.
well, and I always think about there's like a congressional hearing about TikTok, and I
Mm.
can't remember exactly what the congressman asked the TikTok guy, but it was some absolutely ridiculous question like, can TikTok read my mind? Or does TikTok know something? Like, and how that I don't understand how somebody could be that stupid. I'm trying to figure out a nice way to put it, but like,
Yeah.
I don't understand how somebody who is elected to politics, who is smart enough to do that, can ask such like a dumb question about technology, and it's
W-
scary. And it's just like,
Well,
do they even know
being
what's going
elected does not mean you're smart. Being elected does not mean you can run government. Being elected just means you're good at campaigning for your particular constituents. And Marjorie Taylor Greene, perfect example, lunatic. But she's like, she was the biggest fundraiser as a freshman congresswoman in the history of the United States. And so the way that our system is set up, we're not even meant to elect the smartest people, the most thoughtful people. It's the ones that can speak the loudest, especially now that we're on social media and that's how we drive politics. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I mean, politics is the reason that social media and social media marketing got, particularly like Facebook ads, got so hard. It used to be like dangerously easy to get a ton of marketing data that you shouldn't have had access to using the Facebook business platform back in the
Mm,
day. And all marketers were abusing it.
yeah,
But a political Cambridge Analytica, like a political organization doing, abused it too hard and got caught for
got
it.
caught. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it's kind of a terrible, terrible thing to say, but I'm a marketer. I really miss that data that we're no longer getting. But yeah, I mean, it then anytime you're on an ad platform, there are so many checks to make sure you're not running political ads,
Mm,
because that used to be, and probably still is, like a real big problem. Anyone can start an ad account
mm,
and run ads promoting whatever.
mm,
And they wouldn't have any direct affiliation with a politician, but they're certainly promoting one particular viewpoint. And it's just crazy how much social media has been leveraged and continues to be leveraged. Like, and something that's super interesting to think about, and it's kind of outside my sphere of marketing, I guess, but like meme culture and
mm.
how like memes drive votes and interest in certain things is really complex, like unbelievably complex. And politicians have their own marketing teams. All they do is generate funny memes. And it's crazy. Like, it's crazy and it's controlled, but it's still kind of run amok.
Well, and what's interesting, you say political ads are hard to get on Facebook or whatever. Now you have influencers that are essentially the political ads that they get ad revenue from Bitcoin and all this other stuff. So it's kind of flipped it. And so you have folks like Joe Rogan. I used to listen to Joe Rogan before he got political when he just would say weird shit. And I was like, oh, he's kind of smart, had an interesting take. And then he got overtly political. And now you see even podcasts that I watch are just pure politics. And then they're, by the way, while you're listening to us, you should buy this product. And so it's just like it's become a flip to where the advertisers want to get on the political shows. And of course, everybody has their viewpoint. And then the influencers make a ton of money. I mean, they're making a lot of money doing this stuff. So I don't know.
No, it's this kind of crazy intersection between like politics and marketing, because that's a huge part of politics.
Mm,
Crazy.
yeah.
But like, Google search, is changing so much. Like
Mm.
AI is changing that space so much. Have you had any clients say they found you on ChatGPT yet?
I've had a couple. Yeah, but not a ton. Are you seeing that a lot on your end?
I mean, not in huge
Mm.
volume, like maybe two, three people a month on
Mm.
average. But like also the data is kind of muddy. And we had like I had to be really specific about the kind of data we were getting on our contact forms for to
Mm.
be able to even know that it was coming from ChatGPT and not
Oh,
somewhere
okay.
else.
Okay.
And so like people will tell us they found us there or we'll see it like in the data and it's just like kind of slowly growing, which I think is
Mm.
really
Mm.
cool.
Yeah. It's interesting. And it just, I mean, for me, from a marketing standpoint, it's like, does that mean like, obviously the goal is how do you get on ChatGPT's radar, but I feel like that's just a in race to the bottom. Like you just got to pay more and write more, and how you can ever compete with a Morgan and Morgan kind of firm on something like that. So I don't
See,
know.
I don't think AI ranking is about content. I think ranking in AI is about like brand mentions,
Mm,
which another story I think of really often is the time you got a Rolling Stone backlink. That
mm.
was like the coolest thing that ever happened to me. And I mean, I'm
Well,
exaggerating, obviously, but I still
yeah.
remember I was like, oh my God, he did it.
Well,
Like,
that was cool shit. I'm not gonna lie. That
yeah.
was when I on my deathbed. I'm gonna give my kids the Rolling Stone article. So that was pretty cool.
No, we even put that on the site as seen in the Rolling Stone.
I have that on my
I
current
thought it was
site.
great. Yeah. But I think that like the brand mentions and
Mm,
like being written about by an authoritative
mm,
external source, not your
mm,
website,
mm,
is like actually the key to good SEO ranking right now. That
mm.
and reviews, naturally.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's what should we be doing marketing wise to get that? It's
Mm,
like trying to get mentioned in the Rolling Stone, trying to
mm,
get a Wikipedia page. And actually, what I'm hearing a lot is like Reddit. Like
mm.
one of my clients is an active Redditor, and he signs like 2 or 3 cases a month from Reddit. And
Oh,
he's
really?
just like on the boards. And when somebody says like I was in a car accident, he's talked to me, and
Yeah.
he signs people that way. It's wild. And but
Yeah,
like, oh, go ahead.
I mean, for me, I find like I like YouTube the best. I just enjoy it the most. So I do a lot of like videos and commentary. I also do my own little podcast, interview people, and I get cases from it. So my philosophy is there's 1,000 ways to be heard. If you try to get everybody to hear you, you're never gonna compete. So pick something you enjoy doing and then just do it the best you can. And then I think firms you're working with are probably bigger size than mine. I also intentionally stay quote small because the lower overhead I have, the lower amount of money I need to make, and then I get to choose to do what I want. And so we're just very intentional about what we spend money on, both from the business side and the personal side, and then do great work too. I mean, at the end of the day, just do great work as well. It's fundamental. So for what it's worth.
Well, and when you're passionate about what you do, it doesn't feel like work.
Mm.
And just I think the real struggle for a lot of people is finding something they're like super passionate about. And I get asked from time to time, it's like, oh, like, how do I do what you do? And it's just like, you have no idea, like, how much I live and breathe marketing.
Yeah.
And if you live and breathe marketing, you can be like me too.
Yeah.
And so that's like the missing ingredient for a lot of people. And I think too many people like look around and say, like, what's making this person happy? What's making this
Mm.
person happy? Instead of just saying, I want to work, I want to do exactly the kind of work that I want to do. Like,
Mm.
that's great. That's almost idealistic.
Yeah, I mean,
Very
I really like the work that I do, but 80% of it is bullshit grinding, right? Do I want to run payroll in order to run my own firm? Do I want to look at insurance contracts to make sure I get the right thing? Do I want to look at the 401ks and stuff like that? No, I don't want to. Even on the legal side, do I want to be helping share and get records and then working out liens? No, but like in order to do the fundamental work and get the job done, in order to do the sexy stuff, you've got to do the other stuff. And even basketball players that get to play in the NBA, 80% of their stuff is running sprints. And so I think a lot of times people are so focused on that Instagram settlement, whatever advertisement where you get the $10 million settlement or whatever, they're not thinking about the work that went behind that. And they don't really want to do that work. And so I think that staying focused and then grinding is just, and then not even not like I've seen a lot of Instagram. You see the like Andrew Tate and all these assholes are like, you got to grind, and not that kind of grinding where it's like absurd, but like just do the work. This isn't rocket science. We're not splitting the atom here. We're just trying to answer people's business questions and legal situations, you know. So
Yeah, I don't want to start my morning routine at 4 a.m. I'm happier if I sleep until 6, like,
yeah. Well,
or 7.
to be fair, you've got some kids right now. I have to get up at 5 just because I couldn't work out if I didn't. But I
Yeah.
don't plan on doing that long term. Once they're a little bit older, then I want to get up normal time and live normal hours. So
Do you have an in-home gym or you go to like a gym
I
somewhere?
have a gym that I'm a member of, but I set up my weights in the garage, and sometimes I can't sleep. Like the day before yesterday, I couldn't sleep. I woke up at 3 a.m. and just worked out. This morning, I woke up at 5:30 and worked out. Nothing sexy. It's just some dumbbells, a pull down machine, and a cycle machine, and you just most of it's about diet anyway. I mean, it's just not
Yeah.
eating junk food, which I'm losing that battle right now, but I promise after Halloween I'll get back on the thing. But it's more just a mental health thing. It's like just get in, stay consistent. I don't know.
Oh, that's the way I think of it. Like, yeah, I lost a lot of weight dieting,
Yeah,
counting calories, logging everything I ate, focusing on protein, nothing crazy,
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
calories in, calories out. And working outs, I see it as more for mental health, just as
Mhm.
you said. And also, like, I sit a terrible amount, so I have to get
Yeah.
up and go. Well, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to go over?
Yeah, I mean, I think because I've been thinking about when we scheduled a few weeks ago, and I've been thinking a lot about like why I started a firm and like what's the whole goal here. And I think I see a lot of a lot of build a business, expand, hire, get more office space, outsource, all those kinds of things. And that certainly works for a lot of people. But I really just wanted to talk about like there's also another way to do it and to be kind of very low key, keep low overhead reasonable, and be very intentional about like the purpose of it. Like the reason we started a firm was for flexibility. So my wife can stay not work as long as she wants. She's with the firm, but she's not doing a lot of work right now, and I'm able to work from the house. I've got an office, but I don't go in. I go to court when I need to. I meet clients when I need to, that kind of stuff. But none of that stuff's possible unless you're super focused. Like I do most of my own marketing, but I enjoy the marketing and I'm trying to be consistent with it. I write articles, I do videos, I talk, all those kinds of things. But I also don't like overwhelm myself with things that are not going to happen. I don't overcommit myself. And I take on cases, number one, that they're not assholes. Like, I don't care what you've done or been accused of done on the criminal side, so long as you respect myself and my teammates. And then just keep things simple. Like, I keep seeing all these ads for like new cars, and I see my friends going out and spending all this money and like in 10 years do you really are you going to care about that car? No, you're not. But what we do see is an AI technology boom. I don't know if it's a bubble, but I will say like the market's doing really well right now, right? So be thinking about long-term investing, things like that, because that goes hand in hand with the business. Because for me, I'm able to do cases that are more interesting and maybe not as lucrative because all the other stuff I've done my best to try to keep as simple as possible. So, really, you can have a successful business, successful practice, successful marketing. You don't have to do it the same way everybody else does it. You can just, for me, my motto is keep it simple. I don't know. So,
No, I like that. And I mean, really, like you're running, I guess, sort of a lifestyle business.
that's exactly what I'm running. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't sure if you'd categorize it that way, so I was hesitant. And I had somebody else tell that to me like the other day. It's like, I run a lifestyle business. And I'm like, oh, I don't, but that sounds real nice.
Well, I don't mean by lifestyle, the things you see on Instagram where you just like are at the beach and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about like you can work, but also be there for your kid. I take my daughter to daycare every morning. I pick her up most of the days. I plan on being there for all the games. I do not plan on missing important dates unless there's an active trial like actually happening. I'm going to be there, help out with tutoring and all that kind of stuff because and we're doing well financially. Like we're making money. I made more money this year than I ever thought I'd make. And I'm not bragging. I'm just saying like it's like we made real money this year. And it was because we were very intentional And then, as you know, as run a business, next year I may make like less money than I've ever made. So you just save, invest, and be there for the important things. And if, and again, talking about doing what you love, we both are passionate about what we do. We don't love most of what we don't love, but we're passionate enough about it to where I keep thinking people are like, well, are you going to take a lot of time off and, all that kind of stuff? I'm like, no, I actually, well, I don't want to play video games. I like doing what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, let me research this case. I find that interesting. For me, more interesting than I probably should take more vacation, but I find it more interesting than going to the beach. So I don't know.
And this whole running my own business thing has really cut into my video game time.
Yeah, you're a
I
huge video gamer. I remember that too.
no, I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm like, man, I don't hardly play video games anymore because I don't have time. How do you want people to look you up?
So you can always go to our website. It's abreniolaw.com. We've changed the firm name to Abrenio Cho. I also got abreniocho.com. For some reason, the redirecting keeps messing up, so just use Abrenio Law. And then if you're interested in like interesting legal stuff, our YouTube channel, just at Abrenio Cho. I talk about technical personal injury criminal law, but I also talk a lot about like current stories. Like I was actually getting ready to prep. I'm gonna do. I don't know if you saw the story recently in Alexandria. This family got scared to death because these people with
Oh,
masks were going through the camera and on the what is it, Ring camera, and scared the hell out of everybody. It turned out to be family members. So there was the police investigator gave a talk about why he ended up not pursuing criminal charges. So I wanted to talk about that given Halloween. So I'll probably put that video up tomorrow. So,
that I just saw that story. It's like literally right before we started recording, so it's
yeah,
kind of crazy you brought it up. I'll have to look out for that. It's kind of funny.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. But it's
Damn.
also got really interesting, serious legal implications. Turns out, like, it was actually family members that were doing it, and the police got involved, and they spent a lot of time and money investigating it. And I think that somebody lied to law enforcement in order to protect somebody. So you got obstruction considerations, and is it stalking? That there's a lot of interesting legal implications. Long story short, don't lie to cops, just assert the fifth. And also don't scare the hell out of people. Just you can do pranks, but make them more funny than scary. So,
Yeah.
so
Wow. Yeah, the dangers of pranking, I guess. Wow, I wouldn't have thought of that. I will watch that video
yeah,
because that's kind of crazy.
yeah,
Um,
it's super interesting.
all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much, James, for talking
Yeah, of course.
to me, coming back on the podcast. And we'll see everybody next time.
All right. Take care.